Andy Rigby-Jones, the mastermind behind Union Audio, has always been this kind of background presence throughout most of my DJ career. He was responsible for some really important and impactful designs when he was working with Allen and Heath. So the Zone 62, the Zone 92, and a bunch of other products, including the gorgeous V6 Rotary. He then went on to work with Richie Hawtin. He did the Play Differently Model 1 and Model 1.4 mixers, and subsequently started the Master Sounds range of mixers with Ryan from Master Sounds. And those, yeah, I mean, if you've watched this channel for any length of time, you know I was a massive fan of pretty much that whole range. Ryan has now decided he doesn't want to make mixers anymore, so it's moved over to Union Audio, and we kind of have the Orbit line, which is a lot like lots of the older Master Sound stuff, but we have some other kind of more unique products coming through, like the Alara 4 and this thing, the Alara 6, which I have on review right now. That's going to take a little bit longer because, you know, I want to spend some time with it, really get to know it, but spoiler alert, yeah, I think this mixer is pretty dope. Then we have the LE-FX, which in many ways sums up my relationship with a lot of Andy Rigby-Jones designed products from over the years. I understand it, I appreciate it, not really the one for me though. External DJ effects are something which I don't think anybody has ever really nailed, and I think a lot of that is down to how we route audio to them. Generally, I put effects into two categories: send effects and insert effects. Send effects are things like delays, echoes, and reverbs. Those are additives, so you want to lay them on top of the existing signal, and are generally better when used post-fader, so you can cut the incoming signal and still hear the effect tail off. Insert effects are what I would call effects which take the existing signal and alter it. Things like phasers, flangers and loopers. For those, you want to replace the incoming signal, not layer them on top, and so they work best when inserted between the source and the mix bus. And looking at how we route effects on most mixers out there on the market, it does make it kind of impossible to produce one effects unit which does both types properly. If you put the unit on an aux send and return loop, that works great for send effects, but it becomes a massive faff then to use insert effects. Put the unit on an insert instead though, and the send effects are completely compromised, especially if you, like me, want to use echo and reverb out transitions. Which is why I knew from the jump that the LE effects and myself were not destined to be the best of friends. It is designed really to be used as an insert. You can in fact switch it over to send mode, which works really nicely. That takes out the dry signal, but then, as I said, the insert effects types become less practical, so I couldn't really recommend spending all the money on it just to effectively lose over half the potential effects. Using it as an insert does make it far less useful in an open format scenario, but does work really well with genres like techno, and so it makes sense that Union Audio demo it with banging techno themselves. The LE-FX costs around €450. That's more than basic guitar pedals, in line with some premium ones, and a lot less than Pioneer DJ's ancient RMX 1000. And I think that pricing is very reasonable for what you're getting. It has all metal construction, is handmade in the southwest of the UK, and the quality of components is clearly very high, because the LE-FX sounds simply excellent. Up to this point, I've never used an effects unit which has high enough sound quality that I would be comfortable running my entire signal chain through it full time via an insert, but I would have no such qualms about doing so with the LE-FX. There is zero noticeable coloration of the sound or degradation of quality when doing that, and that has to be commended. The effects themselves do sound great too. I'll give you a demo shortly so you can hear that for yourself. Connectivity is good and clearly points to the idea that the LE-FX is intended really to be used as an insert. There are balanced stereo XLRs for input and output, and a single pair of jack sockets for using with a mixer's master insert circuit. Then there are two pairs of RCAs as well. All this works well as intended, but I'd lean towards using the master insert where possible. Running your mixer's master output through the LE-FX via XLRs will sound good, but you won't be able to hear the effects in your booth monitors. The power supply is external, which makes sense on a device like this. It's a 12 volt universal unit, which is then boosted to plus or minus 15 volts DC internally, so you get true pro audio signal level and headroom, which is a big factor in why it sounds good, I suspect, certainly compared to the Boss pedals that I use. We come now to perhaps my biggest qualm with the LE-FX, the design. The shape of it is just a bit weird. The connector panel sits vertically on the rear but only goes about halfway up. Then the unit slopes inwards towards the top panel where the controls are. At that point, the unit is a similar height to a mixer or deck. This looks odd to begin with, even more so with the two-tone white and black finish. On the subject of that, I don't know why this is white. Union Audio don't sell any white mixers as far as I know, so that is a bit of a strange choice. But I also question the practicality of the design. Because the connections are on the rear, not the sides, you can't really put it in front of your mixer unless the mixer is miles away from you, like in Union Audio's own demo video. But it's also quite short and wide, so if you put it in between your mixer and a deck, then your deck will be placed a lot further out, something I don't like. The typical way that units like the RMX 1000 are placed into pro booths is by putting them on a laptop stand, but the LE-FX doesn't really suit that either. For starters, although it is wide, it's also not quite wide enough to sit very securely on most of the stands I tried, but also it's pretty front heavy, so as soon as I tilted any stand down to the kind of angle I would prefer to have it at, it just fell straight off the front. Ultimately, during my testing, I just ended up placing the unit off to the outside of one of my turntables, which was okay, but I can't help feeling that a form factor which would have helped me keep it closer to hand would be preferable. So we're running through a quick demo of the LE-FX here. I've got it set up in the most simplistic way possible, just purely as an insert between a Serato DJ Pro deck that's coming out of the reloop flux, that's going into the line input on the back. Then we're going out of the line output to a line input on one of the channels on the Alara 6. I could set it up as a master insert. I could do the send and return mode thing, but for the ease of just setting up this demo, we're going literally one deck in, straight through. Controls are very straightforward. We have an on-off button here, dry-wet control, tap BPM, 2 parameter knobs, and the effects select. Right now that is fully anti-clockwise, which means we are in analog delay. The 2 parameters here, these will do the delay time and the feedback. Now the delay time with the analog delay will also affect the pitch as well. So this one could get properly squirrely. Let's give it a try. So I'm going to turn it on, bring in the dry wet. It's a bit like the tape delay in Traktor, if you've ever used that. I love the sound this creates. One thing to note though, if I turn it off, it just stops, there's no tails. When you're in this insert kind of mode, there is no way to get tails from it really at all. There's no way to do it. Because if I turn it off, they just stop. If I bring the dry wet down, they just go away. So yeah, just something to bear in mind with that. Next one is the BPM delay. We turn this knob round till we've got one LED lit. And then it starts detecting the BPM. Now this BPM detection is automatic and it's pretty good. It doesn't have 100% hit rate for me, but it does a pretty good job. So this one, again, we've got the time on the parameter 1 and the repeats on number 2. For the feedback, let's set that dry wet halfway and see how it's doing. So when this one's at 12 o'clock, it should be 1-1 delay. Yep. That is just automatic detection. I haven't tapped that in any way. Of course, you can tap the BPM if it's not getting it right. And there have been tracks where it hasn't got it right. Then we can adjust the time. So there's a half beat there. But again though, no tails. And And the other thing you might have noticed there is, I mean, the thing with this is, there is no way to adjust the frequency that is being sent to this, especially in the insert mode. Of course, I could cut the bass. So it can get a bit unruly, that's the word I would use. A little bit unruly with the levels and everything else. You turn that, the repeats up. And of course my natural inclination is now to drop this fader, but it cuts everything because it's insert. That's not to say that the way this behaves is bad. It's not what I'm looking for from an echo. I want tails. I always want tails. And yeah, you can set it up as a send and return, and then you'll get tails. But then you lose all of these other effects as we go around. So the last one that does work in the send mode is the reverb. Let's go to reverb. And this is the strange part, is this does have a tail. Does have a bit of a cut-off. But it does have more of a tail to it. But a very nice sounding reverb indeed. So this one, the parameters, you've got the size of the room on parameter 1. Parameter 2 is the pre-delay and high frequency. But yeah, I love that reverb, sounds great. Next up then, so this is, if you were to put it into the send and return mode, these would not work so well really. So let's go around to flanger. This is a great sounding flanger. Parameter 1 is the LFO sweep frequency. Parameter 2 is the depth. And I think these effects are really where this comes into its own as an insert effect, because it just sounds epic. And the great thing with the LE effects, you've got this dry wet control. It's really easy to get smoothly in and out of these. So that is the flanger. Then we go around to phaser. Did I get to it? I don't know. This is the problem with this select thing. Like, these LEDs are kind of meaningless to me right now. I'm sure if you owned one of these and spent a long time with it. So I'm genuinely not sure now if I'm on phaser or flanger. Let's find out. I'm still on flanger, right? So there we go. Now I'll change that. Now we're on the phaser. Again, a really good phaser. Parameter 1 is the filter sweep speed. Parameter 2 is the depth. Sounds epic, love it. Then we go to Bit Crusher. Parameter 1 is the bit depth. Parameter 2 the dry wet ratio. Can properly break a sound down with that, like that. Again, just easy to get in and out of, very smoothly. Proper crunchy. And then we come around to HPF reverse. There we go. The effects unit does switch itself off as you switch to another effect. So let's go, here we are. So this one, parameter 1 is the cutoff frequency of the filter. And then parameter 2 mixes the filtered audio with the reverse sample. So let's go that way. Right, perfect for just before a break or a drop or something. You know, this is a really fun effect. And then we got the HPF stutter is the last effect in the lineup. So this one, parameter 1, controls the cutoff of the filter, and yeah, parameter 2 is the dry wet again. So let's turn that on. So it's like a 1 beat repeated sample. Again, some really interesting stuff can come out of that. And also, if you take out the sample, so go fully, it's kind of like a filter effect as well. So there is some depth to this thing. There are ways to experiment and go kind of deep on it. The more you get to know it, the more kind of interesting stuff you get from it. So there you go, my thoughts on the LE effects from Union Audio. As I've made clear, look, this is not the effect unit for me. It doesn't fit my workflow. It doesn't do what I want an effect unit to do. I mean, to be fair, nothing on the market today does what I want an effect unit to do, and perhaps that might not even be possible, you know, due to the way that we route audio to our effects on our DJ mixers. Maybe it's just not a thing. Maybe it's never going to be a thing that I can have. You know, the only way I can have the effects that I want is with built-in effects in a mixer. I just don't know, but like this, it's just not quite there for me. However, there are a lot of positives in this thing's favor. Firstly, build quality, awesome, super solid, tank-like build. This thing isn't going to let you down. Absolutely not. Secondly, sound quality. I would be more than happy to see anyone run any source through this. You can run it as a master insert on your mixer. You're not going to degrade the sound of your mixer. You can run a CDJ into it and then into the mixer, pass through. Not going to degrade your sound. I see big world famous DJs sometimes using RMX 1000s from Pioneer as an insert in that fashion. They'll like have a CDJ and an RMX 1000, then go to the mixer. They do that for like 3 decks. Don't do that. Don't do that. It sounds bad. RMX 1000 sounds dead and lifeless. I would never put anything through an RMX 1000. I say that as someone who bought an RMX 1000 at one point and sold it. Don't do that. But you want to run anything through this thing, all day I'm happy to see that, because this thing sounds phenomenal. The actual quality of the effects is great. I wish there were tails on the delays. I really do. Like, I just wish that was part of the routing internally, that you could just have an echo tail. I miss that when I don't have it. That's really the main thing I want from an effects unit, is echo tails. And of course you can run this as a send and return, but then you lose lots of the other fantastic effects, or you lose the main kind of functionality of those. So you lose the, you know, the flanger and stuff, which sounds phenomenal. And that HPF reverse and stutter, they're really cool as well. So there's lots to love about this thing. absolutely, you know, and I think lots of its quirks you would kind of get used to. The effect selection knob, yeah, I mean, for someone who doesn't own one, that is super weird, but I'm pretty sure if you own this for a while, you would get to know what the different LEDs mean, and then you would get comfortable knowing where you are with it. As it stands to a new user, that is a bit of a challenge. BPM detection's great. You know, the fact that you can come in and out really smoothly with this big dry wet control, that's great as well. I do have a question about where you would put this. I mean, the thing is, with an effects unit, it's always going to be a little bit of a tricky thing to fit into a DJ booth, especially with the current kind of layouts that we have. Like, where would you put this? You can't really put it in front of the mixer because you've got the connectors are on the rear. I mean, you could, if you use like right angle connectors and stuff, you get it quite close, but otherwise you might need a lot of space. Same goes for putting it behind the mixer, where you've got obviously the cables coming out of the mixer. And what you can't really do with this form factor, because it is a very unique form factor, I kind of wish it was flatter. So rather than being so tall, I kind of wish it was like a flat slab almost, because then you could more easily, like an RMX 1000 or something, fit it onto a laptop stand behind the decks. This, I feel like if you stuck this on a laptop stand behind the decks, it's going to be pretty unwieldy sat there. I don't know, it's not impossible, but I feel like it wouldn't be the most elegant looking thing. So yeah, I'm not sure about the form factor, but as I say, the build, the sound, the quality of the effects, absolutely superb. And I think it's well priced for what you're getting. It's one of these where it just doesn't suit my workflow. It's not the one for me, but that doesn't make it a bad product. And that's what this reviewing thing is all about. I have to put myself in the position of, okay, who's going to want this? Where are they going to use it? And I feel like if you're playing like disco or techno or house and you're running it on a master insert, it's not going to degrade your sound quality. You want to bring in a bit of flanging and phasing at times and stuff like that. I think you'll have a lot of fun with this thing. I really do. As I say, just not the effect unit for me. In the comments, let me know, firstly, your favorite effect unit from over the years. So that could be going back to stuff like the Chaos pads, the Elasis Air Effects. Remember that one where you wave your hand above it? That was a pretty interesting idea. The EFX line, the RMX line from Pioneer. There's been lots of different ones over the years. So let me know your favorite, and also let me know what you would like to see from any future effects unit from any manufacturer. What do you want in an effects unit? Do you just want basic echoes and frequency adjustments? Do you want loopers? What kind of things would you love to see on an effects unit from the future? Thanks for watching this episode of Beatsource Tech. I do hope you've enjoyed it or found it useful. If you have, please give the video a thumbs up, subscribe, and make sure you've turned on notifications so you don't miss any future videos. And hey, if you haven't already, you can try Beatsource for free and join DJcity for just $10. All the links are down in the description. I'll see you next time.